Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins. That's what we gonna talk about today. I'm gonna have a few videos pop out, today and the next few days because this Raw, we actually had two good matches that I'm gonna talk about. But right now is Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins. This is the match that we didn't know that we wanted. Man, if I had to give this match, a rating out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it, I'll give it a 4-star Raw match. This almost kind of looked like a PLE match. You even had, the interference from like Sami Zayn, right? Now the thing with Sami Zayn evened the odds, even that playing field. He didn't do it like CM Punk did and just, give this a disqualification. Honestly, I would have I would have almost let this play out because that's what we wanted to see, but I get why you had the disqualification with CM Punk because it's like it gave you this oh no, y'all not gonna get to see this conclusion. It's kind of like, hey, I'm gonna bait y'all in, and then you're like, oh, it's a disqualification. But if anybody in the back locker room, even with all these releases and stuff that happen, if you're watching WWE and you're a wrestler trying to get to the WWE and you want to see how a WWE match should look no other than Jey Uso and Seth Rollins. They didn't do super over the top mega bumps and you didn't have to go through tables and all of this hardcore stuff. You didn't even have all of these things that didn't make sense. You'd be like, why would he do that type stuff? And you get a lot of that from Al Snow type creative people. Don't do nothing that doesn't make sense. I thought Seth Rollins and Jey Uso sold each other moves to a T. And it wasn't even over the top selling. And we're going to get to that too with the Io Sky and Roxanne Perez match. Because that was actually a good match as well. But Jey Uso and Seth Rollins had a really good match. From the reversals to, some of the dives. God, Michael Cole is trash at commentating. That's all I gotta say. If I could replace Michael Cole with anyone, it would be perfect because he's calling moves not the correct move. He said Seth Rollins was busted open and all kind of stuff. I mean, Michael Cole needs to be fired, but that's another video. But my biggest thing, and my friend, me and him talk about this, and he's saying, it's a new era, and honestly, the entire wrestling community notices this too. The kickouts are crazy. There's just no way, that these kickouts make sense. This is a World Heavyweight Championship match for the belt. I get that. So, of course, you're going to kick out a finisher here, a finisher there. Like Kane kicked out of 2 back-to-back tombstones, and he's already been chokeslammed like 5 times. And that third tombstone, he kicked out right after 3. I think that was WrestleMania or something. But this is a Raw match. you know, you get those close calls. You know, I get that. I just can't see anywhere in my mind where Jey Uso can kick out of a superplex from the third rope that's instantly turned into a Falcon Arrow and then gets curb stomped. And this might have been one of the best curb stomps I've seen. Where, you know, I mean, come on, like he sold that curb stomp perfectly. You know, I didn't know Jey Uso. You know, it's they had chemistry. They have better chemistry than CM Punk and Seth Rollins. You know, we want this match again. We want this match either at SummerSlam. I would even say we can have this match at WrestleMania. I will wait until WrestleMania for this match. But I get why Jey Uso kicked out. I get it. But Jey Uso kicking out of a superplex from the third rope, Falcon Arrow, curb stomp. Man, that's a 3. That is a 3. You know, honestly, that's a 10 count. Just off the superplex to a Falcon Arrow, that's a 10 count. But then you throw the curb stomp in there. I mean, does that championship buff Jey Uso by 50%? You know, Jey Uso better have 99% endurance on 2K26. You know, I don't even think HBK, Undertaker, Kane, Kurt Angle wouldn't have kicked out of that. I'm sorry. Falcon Arrow, superplex. He already had the pedigree. He might have been stomped one time. I'm not sure. But man, that match was on fire. And you see a lot of people online talking about Raw was trash, this was garbage, this was boring, they fell asleep. You know, I'm gonna disagree with them, but this was one of the better Raws that we've had going into WrestleMania season. The closest Raw, you know, might have been when Io defeated Rhea. Also, maybe when Gunther, you know, attacked Jimmy Uso. You know, that might have been one of the better Raws. You know, Raw has been, you know, trash for the past few weeks, but if we keep getting Raws like this, I don't think anyone would be upset about it. I keep saying no one cares about Rusev, but this is about Jey Uso and Seth. This is what we need. Braun Breaker puts the finishing touches on it. You know, he speared Sammy. You know, he speared Jay. I mean, now the fans are like, okay, who is better, Jey Uso or Seth? You know, if Jey Uso kicked out, that ain't nothing Seth could do. I'm sorry, like, there's nothing Seth can do if Jey Uso kicked out of a superplex from the third rope, Falcon Arrow, and the most vicious curb stomp without any weapons. You know, and he already been speared by Braun Breaker. Who can take Jey Uso down at this point? I mean, Jey Uso went from being beat by Gunther, I think, 3 or 2 times before? I think it was 3. To now, he can kick out of stuff like that. So this is a different era for Jey Uso. You know, will Jey Uso go on this Roman Reigns type run? I mean, I think Jey Uso gonna have the belt for at least a year. You kicking out of stuff like that. I mean, a choke slam from hell, south of heavens. I mean, you can hit Jey Uso with 10 stunners and he's going to kick out. And he ain't tapping. So I don't know. I mean, I didn't think Jey Uso and Seth was going to go that hard. And I mean, it was botch free. Some people are going to get every little detail, every little step and say, oh, it was botchy. This was one of those matches where it wasn't rushed. It didn't feel rushed. It flowed perfectly. They must have practiced this, a couple of times before it happened. We don't even care about the Logan Paul beef no more. We don't care at all. But man, I just had to put that into the universe. I'm not gonna let nobody talk bad about this match. You can't say Raw was trash just because this match was on it and the Io Sky match. I mean, some of y'all, I don't know what, y'all are just hardcore degenerates and think everyone has to put their body on the line and go through 10 tables and light bulbs and real glass to get a match over. This was, one of the best matches on Raw that you got in a long time. And it was a World Heavyweight Championship match. We don't get that on Raw too often. You're defending the World Heavyweight Championship on a random Raw. So, I mean, just soak it in, be glad. Hopefully SmackDown this Friday gives us something better. Well, not even better, but it could be on par. And this, I don't know if we're going to call this the new generation, but it's the Jey Uso generation right now. Will the Seth and Jey Uso feud end up being better than the Cody John Cena feud? I don't know. I can't tell you, but I could tell you from just a pure wrestling match style chemistry. If Jey Uso's night 1 with Seth and Cody and Cena is night 2, that night 1 match might have a better pop. I mean, John Cena got star power and Cody has some star power, but what match do you want to see is going to be the thing. So I'm rooting, I'm all in for this Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins part 2 when we do get it. I just pray that creative gives us a great, compelling story to keep it interested, because they have us interested right now based off of just the wrestling. That's kind of hard to do. That just off the wrestling and how good this match was, they kept us entertained with just that. So put a great story behind it. And I think this, I know we talking about WrestleMania already, but at least get us to SummerSlam with a bang. Get us to SummerSlam with a bang. Keep the DQs and the interference out of it. Give us a good match. Don't let, if it's SummerSlam, don't throw in Roman. Don't throw in CM Punk. Let them have their own thing to deal with. Give Braun Breaker to Punk. We don't want to see Punk versus Seth again. We don't want to see that. Unless we would only care about Punk versus Seth. They already had the steel cage match, but if you're going to give us Punk versus Seth, it got to be a last man standing type match. Something like that, or I Quit or something like that. But we want Jey versus Seth at SummerSlam. I don't even care if it's night 2 to end the show. But give us that. And that's all I'm going to say on that. My next 2 videos, I might do a Raw review / Io Sky versus Roxanne Perez video. Or I might make them 2 separate. I might just do it all in one. And I'm going to kind of give a pre-Backlash of what I think might happen at Backlash. So peace out. Look for the next videos coming soon.